today our topic overview of .NET and its ecosystem. So before going to the topic, so I'll give you a little glimpse on each line what we are discussing in this today topic. So clear agenda. So today our agenda is we'll discuss one by one. Like first we will discuss about introduction of .NET technology. So mostly we'll cover here how the Microsoft started the .NET journey. So when evaluation started, so this type of things, and then we'll go over the .NET overview. So here complete what is .NET and what type of applications we can develop using the .NET. Those are the things. Then we'll discuss about .NET 5. So here we'll get a confusion like when we are discussing about .NET, why I mentioned especially about .NET 5. Yes, there is a reason. We'll go through for the reason also. Then we'll explain about the future development strategy and we'll discuss current trends and career paths. So these are the today our agenda for this topic. First, introduction of .NET technology. So before going to this, I'll give a small example. For example, when we are starting any new business, take a one product we are going to develop. So when we are going to develop a new product, you should, if you want to achieve your goal, so you should have a clear roadmap, and you should know what are the target audience for you. Like if you think a .NET is a product for Microsoft, okay, they introduced the .NET technology. So how the .NET journey started initially. So if you go into those details, so before the .NET from the Microsoft, there is a two programming languages we have like VB, Visual Basic, and C++ with the support of Microsoft Foundation classes. This is a very important MFC, Microsoft Foundation classes. So these are the two ruling programming languages from Microsoft in 90s, 80s time, basically. So what is MFC? So MFC means it's a completely OS related API functions. Simply we can call it as a Win32 API functions. That means they are completely rely on the OS operating system runtime to develop any application. Understood the point? There is strongly dependency with OS level kernel the time. So then in 1990s time, late 1990s, Microsoft came up with a new idea with a different component model. That's called COM. COM means everyone will call it as simply in industry COM. COM applications. They will say COM objects. That means component object model. And initially, the name of the project is not .NET. It's a next generation Windows services. Why? Because they have their own operating system Windows. There is a slight difference. You understand here. If you want to develop, if you want to use the .NET application, you should install the Windows operating system. They have clear mindset, clear roadmap. See, so that's why their target also only for Windows operating systems, not others. So initial journey. So maybe target audience are less, but they target clearly Windows users. So they started journey and slowly they started with COM object model. And here COM, what is the COM here again? Why? Because while MSC is depending on the operating system kernel, what is the COM? COM means it's a completely client server model. So that see, if you in your career in education, so you will hear sort of protocols like TCP, IP, IPC channel, UDP protocol. So there is a client and there is a server. The communication will happen through the protocols. That is different model they come up with. Finally, they named it as a .NET and released. It's a beta version, not actual version, in the 2000 year. But actual first official release came in the 2003. So our .NET journey starts in the 2003 from onwards. That way .NET journey started, but they continuously released new versions with a lot of modifications, lot of feature improvements. For example, when we are starting business, we should know the target audience. So their target audience clearly their users, whoever using the Windows operating system. And they continuously enhanced the product. For example, initially you will reach a small product, but when markets changed, as per technology, as per industry, as per user needs, you need to enhance the product. The same way they released a lot of versions continuously every year or 2 years. And finally, in .NET framework, latest version, current version is the 4.8. Is the latest version of .NET framework. Okay, so this is the .NET framework journey basically. In between that, in 2015, what happened? Now technology completely changing. Though so many users are started using the mobiles instead of device desktops. So we are spending more time on the mobiles, and wherever you want to access the application. So that way the market also changing and the industry is changing. Then Microsoft started new journey is a project called .NET Core. So understand .NET framework is only for targeting the Windows operating system, while .NET Core is targeting for the all operating system, means Windows, Mac, Linux, mobile, Android also. So they introduced a new product. That means .NET Framework is a separate SDK. SDK is Software Development Kit. That is a mandatory. Yeah, if you install it, then only you can do the coding. So .NET Framework is a separate SDK. .NET Core is a separate SDK. They introduced a new SDK to support the other devices. See, .NET Framework 4.0 is, I mentioned, right? It's the latest version. Then they completely changed into the open source, and finally last year only November we got a new release .NET 5. So I'll explain about .NET 5. What is the .NET 5 next? So if you see here, so we have a lot of customer base from the Microsoft. So I'll show the what are the customer base we have. See, if you see here, there is a lot of customer base for the Microsoft.NET. See, .NET customer showcase. If you open this site from the Microsoft, you will see what are the customers we have. The major sites here: Stack Overflow, GoDaddy, everything. So most of the companies are using .NET technology basically. So this is a .NET journey basically. That way .NET journey started. Now in the current market we have a .NET Core, .NET Framework, .NET 5. So three different type of names. We understood like how the .NET journey started. Now what is the .NET? So what type of applications we can build using the .NET? So using the .NET, you can build any type of applications. For example, desktop means where we can access from your own application. It's not internet support. It's only your desktop, means it's something like antivirus, right? So those are the things. And web applications, which can be accessible through the internet, and cloud based. Now a lot of products are migrating to the cloud. Azure, AWS, Google. There is a lot of cloud providers we have. So .NET supporting to the cloud based applications also. Phone means like mobile, Android, iOS. So we can develop any type of application, any more type of mobile applications. Next, gaming. So we have a separate framework in .NET itself to develop a gaming applications. And IoT, Internet of Things, then AI. So .NET have a inbuilt machine learning framework also. They introduced, and they are giving continuously enhancing their product also to develop a AI related products also. So these are the complete platform. We can, using the .NET, you can build any type of applications. Yeah, as discussed, what is .NET? .NET is in current states, it's a open source. In older days, it's not open source, but now the Microsoft has announced it's a complete open source platform, and we have a GitHub support. So GitHub also now acquired by Microsoft. So GitHub also now completely controlled on Microsoft company only. See, as I mentioned, like we can develop any type of applications, and we can, the Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code is a IDEs. IDEs means we need one software to develop a application basically. For example, Notepad. If you want to prepare any information, like information, if you want to enter any information, you need some Notepad or Word, MS Word, right? Same way in .NET, if you want to do the projects, if you want to build the applications, we need a Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. Both are from the Microsoft. So you see, there is no other languages providing this much flexible IDE, Visual Studio and Visual Studio like that. There is no other programs we have that much support, which is providing by like IDE support basically, where we have a clear roadmap to develop a clear like UI, better UI to develop a new applications. I will show you how Visual Studio design will have, like how we can create a new projects. I will show you the next slides. So as I mentioned, we have a few things in the .NET. So .NET Core, as I mentioned, it's for Windows, Linux, Mac, anything. Framework for Windows-based applications. And we have a Xamarin. This I mentioned, .NET can support the mobile level. Xamarin is one framework to design a UI for the mobile operating systems like Android and iOS. So when we are building any product, see, .NET is a technology, but for Microsoft, it's a product. So when we are designing any product, few design principles, means few rules we should follow. But for example, you created one new product with your own idea. You deployed in one web server. Maybe you took a GoDaddy account, deployed there, and that means again you will enhance the product in near future, right? When you are enhancing the product, you should give the support for the old users. Otherwise, your product won't survive. Why? Because already some users are purchased your product. You need to support them. So that way, interoperability. So providing the lot of backward support. So when new versions are coming, still Microsoft is giving the support for that framework is backward for old users, but means old applications in the technology point of view. And when we are talking about portability, so it should be run any operation. For example, you are developing one application in your own system, doesn't mean that your application only run in your system. It should run in any device, and it should support multiple devices. That way, portability also we have. Security, yes. When we are developing any new product, especially in our current situation. Why? Because every day maybe some news, some Google, some new Google News, some papers you will read, like some company database hacked by some users. So security is the biggest point, like initial point when we are starting the new product. How we are providing security for our application. Why? Because user data, your email ID, your name, your phone number is very important. So security is very important. That is, we have a .NET framework inbuilt is providing the security mechanisms to secure your products. And memory management. For example, see like maybe you introduce one product to the market, maybe 10 users mostly log into your application, only 10 users are accessing your data, your application. That means your user base is 10 users. Doesn't mean that in your future also 10 users, right? In future it may be improved to thousands or lakhs. So when users are increasing, your system also should support. Why? Because user base is increased, number of requests come to the server, your memory automatically will consume those requests will eat your system memory. So how much speed, how much accuracy you are clearing the memory. For example, you one user log into the system, okay, and after few seconds he logged out. Again, one more user came. You should clear the what are the data is old user occupied. It's not user entered data. See, come here. It's a system resources. I can say system. You understood, like when we are open, when you are accessing multiple applications in your system. If you open the task manager, you will see 100% CPU usage, right? So that way. So if it is reaches 100%, what you may get system hang state. It will go to the system hang state. You will get. You need to restart the system if you want to use. If you are not clear, then if system is not clearing the memory continuously. So to handle the memory cleanup, we have a garbage collector. We can call it as a GC simply, shortcut. In .NET, we have a garbage collector. It will run automatically in regular intervals to clean the complete unused memory. So we no need to take care especially. It will automatically take care by .NET framework. And again, when we are same example, when we are developing new product, how much simply you are installing into the system. If you're installing any app in your mobile, so just you are going to the Play Store, just downloading, installing, simple steps. Otherwise, if they give some URL, enter there and download, then install means it's difficult, right? The process, how they simplified the process for installing the software. So the .NET framework have inbuilt packages to create a EXEs, simple EXEs to install it. So these are the design principles as a .NET framework. Whenever they are releasing the complete product, whenever they're releasing the new versions, they follow these principles. So here in .NET, we have a different I can say different frameworks or different keywords. Remember, these keywords is very important when we are learning or when we are starting journey with .NET. So each framework have a separate usage. Is a .NET is a one framework, but inbuilt internally we have a different components to develop a different type of applications. That means Windows application is different type of application. Web is different type. Mobile is a different. So that way there is a different components we have inbuilt in the .NET to support all type of applications. So these keywords will go one by one. So Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, these are the IDEs. If you want to do the project, we need those IDEs. And programming language means if you are writing a logic, so you should use the C#. It's a primary language mostly. And we have a VB.NET also, like here C#, VB.NET, F#. Any one we can use, not all three at a time. Okay, both almost three are same, but C# is a primary language for normal applications, when F# is a primary language for algorithm based applications. Otherwise, both are programming languages same. .NET CLR is a CLR. It's a runtime. It's a very important. Okay, when we are in .NET applications running in one system means they installed a .NET runtime. That means CLR. Without runtime, like .NET application cannot possible to run. It's not possible to run .NET application basically. And .NET framework, yes, .NET framework is a SDK which will provide a set of libraries. That means I'll show you what type of libraries it will provide, but it will provide you some default functions, some default things to build a .NET application. As in .NET Core is the same, like SDK. It is also provide set of libraries to build a multi-platform applications. So Winforms, it's a legacy one compared to in current trends. Why? Because olden days, whenever they build a desktop applications for UI, for designing the UI for the desktop application, they used Winforms. Okay, now WPF came, so mostly now the desktop applications users companies are using WPF. It's a YAML based, that is XML. You know XML, right? XML based language. Here ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC, Web API. Three different applications. ASP.NET is some more legacy, and when we are choosing the .NET framework, ASP.NET means to build a web applications, and MVC means it's a same ASP.NET extension. I can call it. It's not replacement. It's a extension for ASP.NET and to build a web applications. But compared to ASP.NET, it's a more lightweight and more control over the code. That means when we are developing a one application, you should consider like how much separation of concerns. That means UI can develop some other person, backend code can write some other person. The separation. So that is the completely separated in the MVC, the architecture. But ASP.NET it's difficult. It's combined completely. So Web API. So what is Web API? Web API means when we are developing any application. So now if you see current market, when we are designing the new application, they are targeting web and mobile users. For example, take a Flipkart, Amazon, any site. They have a mobile apps, they have a websites. They cannot build two applications to support a web and to support a mobile device. If they build two applications, what happen? For example, they want to introduce new class or new products. They need to publish the new products in the two different sites, not in single site. It's not possible. Two applications. What they will do, they will develop a REST API that is called REST APIs. They will develop a one API so that can consume from the either mobile app or website. That means only UI will change. Backend completely one API will handle both. So for that type of REST services, if you want to build, we should choose the Web API. So ADO.NET Entity Framework both are same. So it's a middleware between your code and database. For example, database means SQL, Oracle, MySQL, Sysbase. So for example, when you are inserting data, if you click this, for example, you are registering an account in your site and you entered all the details, click the submit. Then it will store in the database. To store the database, we need to connect between the application and the database. The connection should establish. The connection will establish through the ADO.NET and Entity Framework. Okay. So Xamarin, yes, I already mentioned Xamarin for this Windows OS, Android, iOS, mobile applications UI. We can develop using the Xamarin. So these are the keywords basically when we are starting the .NET. These are the very important things, different components. Based on the components, whenever if you want web application, you should choose the MVC or ASP.NET. If you want REST API, you should choose the Web API. That way we can get easily like what we can choose based on our target platform. So yes, when we are starting we discussed about what is .NET and what is the history of .NET, then what is the next generation of .NET. Yes, till now we hear right, .NET framework is there to build applications for Windows platform. .NET Core is there to build applications for other platforms. Then Microsoft came up with a different idea. When we have a one technology, like finally we are correcting as a single technology, why we need two different SDKs. So that means before last year, if you want to build a application based on your target platform, you should choose either .NET Framework or .NET Core. So last year, what happened? They came up with new release in the November, just 2 months back. Is a .NET they combined both .NET Core and .NET Framework into single SDK. Means no need to install two different things. One installation can develop any application. Simple. With cross-platform and a native UI and complete open source. And with a lot of improvements like speed. And when we are diagnostics means when you are writing application, if you get a issue, the logging information and a lot of Azure services. So lot of improvements in the cloud aspect and security aspect, speed aspect. So all the things, and they introduced one single runtime and single SDK is called .NET 5. This is the difference basically.